You might know the company from its Firefox web browser. And that's really where I want to start and sort of understanding this layer of technology that we're talking about so much, that so many of us are using. And I wonder how you look at it as a way that it's part of the ecosystem now, Laura. Is this like, is it a web browser? Is it like internet access was in the 1990s? Are there going to be no such thing as like, you know, AI companies because everything is going to be an AI company? How should we be thinking about it?
Yeah, it's a moment of tremendous change. One of the big shifts we're seeing is a really renewed interest in browsers as a category. Perplexity just launched their Comet browser. OpenAI just launched their Atlas browser. And it makes sense. The browser has been around for decades, and it's a product we use all the time, but we don't think about it very often. And it's not surprising that AI companies are getting into this space. The browser has incredible access into credentials, your tabs, where you're browsing, how you're spending your time. And as you know, AI companies are very hungry for that information. So it is sort of a moment of resurgence for the browser right now.
Is the browser the gateway to all of this? Or is it not, because we're using apps like Claude or ChatGPT?
What we're finding is that the folks that created those apps are feeling that the interface is a little clunky right now, that you might be in a browser and then you have to go to another tab and back and forth a little bit. And so I think that there will be a role to play for apps. But what we're certainly seeing from OpenAI and others is that they're really interested in getting into the browser space. But I think the browser's changing. The browser has traditionally been a container. You know, you have a URL and a search bar, you have some tabs, and the browser renders content on the web for you. The shift that we're expecting to see is that the browser will become more of an agent to actually do work on your behalf in that browser interface. But with that shift becomes a big shift in power of data as well. You know, the AIs now have more information about your credentials, where you're spending your time, where you're spending your money. And we know that people are worried about that. 60% of people in the US are really worried about privacy with AI. And the other 40% probably should be as well. And so I think to be successful in this space, people are going to have to go back to those values that Mozilla and Firefox are really built on, which is around privacy and choice and control over your experience and your data.
Do you feel like it's difficult to compete against the behemoths that are out there?
It's always challenging to be a smaller company. The big tech companies consolidate a lot of power. They lock you in. They have vertical integration. But it's something that is incredibly important to do. The internet, if left to its own devices, would always trend to being closed, to being expensive, and to just have a few players. And that's why it's important to have open source solutions. It's important for alternatives for Firefox, like Firefox, to be there. You know, we have our own browser engine called Gecko. There are only 3 browser engines left. Microsoft and Opera, everyone else moved over to Chromium. It's expensive to run a browser engine. I know why they did it, but we think it's incredibly important to invest in options like that, because very quickly, otherwise you end up in a very, very sort of monopolistic world, which is bad for the health of the internet, and it's bad for the users of the internet.
So are you creating a web browser? Are you changing Firefox in order to be an AI first browser so it can compete with whatever browser OpenAI ultimately has, whatever browser Perplexity ultimately offers, in the way Chrome changes from Alphabet's Google?
Yeah, at Firefox, we always adapt to where users are going and what they need. And not all of our users want AI. About 12% of users in the US actually don't want AI. So there'll always be an experience for them. But we just launched Smart Windows. We have signups for those available right now, which will be our version of AI. But it's going to be centered on privacy, on trust, and on transparency. So you'll be able to have a great AI experience in the Firefox browser, but it's going to be one that is really oriented around what users really need.